Well, this is where we give you a full view of the election results. A very good evening to you. I'm Criselda Lewis. In the first hour of the show, we'll be crossing to all of our reporters countrywide for the latest updates. Yavi and Shante will also give us all the trends on social media. But first, Stephen Huertas is live from the Results Centre in Pretoria. A very good evening to you, Stephen.
Criselda, good evening to you. Thank you very much indeed. All right, this is what's happening behind me here. I'm on the floor of the headquarters, the Results Operations Centre of the Electoral Commission. Behind me, you can see the figure of Mzwanele Mani and others, people from the Black First, Land First movement and the African Transformation movement. They led a small, protest here, a group of people singing and dancing as they came in. They were singing that the IEC doesn't recognise us. And Mzwanele Mani has been suggesting in the last few minutes that they're going to make objections to the outcome of the elections, suggesting that the IEC is guilty of malpractice in this case and that the results of the election and the election itself will not be free and fair. Let's just cross there. Let's cross now to the ATM and hear what they're saying for themselves.
And smaller parties. And in this case, you are seeing the results. It does not make sense. Some of the results that are coming out of here are very questionable because of the population demographics do not even support those results. So we are here to declare that these elections were not free, nor were they fair. Yes. We were not afforded that opportunity. Let's keep it. Okay. Manda!
Yeah. What we're saying as a combination of the political party, once we're starting to campaign, there's no big party. All of us were equally.
Switch the mic on.
So all the parties are equal. But the way we are treated, this election is not free and fair because the SABC radio and television, they didn't give us even the opportunity to advertise ourselves in the TV and radio. They sidelining us. Before the result, there is no big party. And then the issue of the ink is very, very important. So we say this election is not free and fair. We must re-elect.
Rerun.
It must be rejected.
We are rejecting it.
We would like to say as Amanda, we would like to say as the Black First, Land First that over and above the overwhelming evidence that there has been irregularities governing these elections, there is a clear political program to lead for a government of national unity between political parties linked to the agenda of white monopoly capital. And these political parties are the ANC, is the DA, and is the Economic Freedom Fighters. We are seeing here a ridicule of parties aligned to an agenda of radical economic transformation, of parties who have fashioned themselves to have confronted white monopoly capital. The results that we see on this board makes a total ridicule of all the work that we have done as so-called smaller parties, as you have chose to describe us. So we are very dissatisfied with the irregularities, but there is a political program to alienate dissenting voice who speak against the status quo in this country.
Thank you.
We reject this election. We reject the process. We think the IEC has lost the control of these processes completely. The credibility of this election process is totally questionable as we speak. As the SRWP, we believe that the results that are going to be showed here are not credible results. As we speak now, there are so many ballot boxes that are being found on the street, on the field, with the ballot papers. Some are cast, some are not. That is a clear indication that the IEC has lost the control of the election process completely.
Okay, Forum. All right. We as Forum for Service Delivery, we are of the view that these elections are not free and fair. We have raised the issue of IEC head, Glenn Mashinini, taking a hawk with another voter called Cyril Ramaphosa to go and vote. We are saying why he chose one voter, why not all the voters? And again, in Northwest, people were given 3 ballots. 2 national, 1 province, or vice versa. So we are rejecting these elections, and we are not happy, and we are prepared to go as far as electoral court and even constitutional court. Thank you.
Yeah, the lady.
My name is Nelly Tom. I'm from the Alliance for Transformation for All. I agree what other comrades said. I voted yesterday in Cape Town, Ward 98. The scan, I voted without my ID being scanned. And most people that work for IEC are teachers. And they are not technologically professional. Because they're supposed to start at 7 o'clock. We started past 8. Up until I have to say I'm going to call the journalist. Then it's where they let me voted without being my ID scan. Then I have to take the flight here. So we are not really happy. Some station in Makaza, they run out of ballot boxes, and whereby the presiding officers, they treated the smaller parties very badly. We are not 100% happy with the results. And for next time, IEC have to employ the young children that has been graduated for economic development in this country. The teachers have salaries, but at the end of the day, they are working for IEC and they don't know exactly what they are doing. Because when I speak to the deputy presiding on that station, she said, I can rather go. Some people were going to work, they left the station. So most of our votes are not accountable. Thank you.
Okay. As National Freedom Party, we wish to concur. Okay. We as National Freedom Party, we agree with all the small parties, and we are also not happy about you, members of media houses, the way you are treating us. You are only here for ANC, PA, and EFF. That is the only parties you want to cover. You have been doing this while we are campaigning, during our campaign, and even now, when we are requesting you to cover us, you only tell us you cover the big brothers. This is South Africa. It's a democratic country. We don't care about those big brothers. And we want to challenge them even in the court of law. Thank you.
Are you going to court?
Yes.
We'll take questions just now. All right. Over to you.
We as the Land Party, we are saying the IEC and the SABC, they're taking the media, they're taking us for granted, and we cannot allow the kind of nonsense that they're putting to us as the smaller parties. And we are saying these elections were not free and fair. So we are going to court and contest this, because only the three biggest political parties were given media attention, and we were not even considered. I can tell you that even yesterday, they were moving around here in front of us, but they did not even look at us. We looked like some cheap stuff here, and we paid the equal amount of registration. So we are saying, if this thing, they don't stop with this thing, we are going to challenge them in court. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We as the African Content Movement, we are saying to the IEC, we have seen that it is very corrupt itself. And the reason we have called this particular media briefing is because we've been continually talking to the IEC, and we told the CEO to say to him that, as Mr. CEO, we've been raising our issues and we've been raising our queries, they are not being attended. And those who have voted for us, they are also questioning these nonsensical results that we are seeing here on this platform. So we are saying, as the ACM, those days are over for the IEC to favor certain party because they are employed by them. We are saying now there is no small party here. These are parties that represent South Africans. And as we told the CEO of the IEC without fear, we told him that we are going to gather as parties. We want to be respected because we represent people. We are not going to actually come here to just push an agenda of the IEC and the ANC where we are being made to accept results that have got a lot of irregularities. So we have told them that people have been given 3-4 ballots. Ballots have been finished. We've got now people who are arrested. We've got South Africans who were arrested because of the negligence of the same IEC. They told us that we must cite the codes of conduct. But we are questioning them to say that what kind of code of conduct are we signing when yourself you don't treat the elections to be free and fair? Now we've got the results. These results, we can tell you, they are set up. We don't agree with the results. Our people don't agree with the results. We have worked very hard. Like, for example, the African Content Movement had more than 5,000 party agents in the stations. But how come? Because our party agents, all of them voted, we've got this kind of results. So what we are saying as the parties were united, and we are saying those days of these so-called big parties undermining democracy that they practice to be preaching are over. So we are saying that the IEC, we are going to make sure that we hold you accountable without fear and favor. Thank you very much.
The last speaker.
Echo Forum.
Thank you. I'm Basali Dwaba from Women's Forward. Our concern is the way the IEC is doing its things here. We don't know why we are still here. We don't know where are these results being put on the board, because IEC itself, from all the meetings that has been attended, has been agreeing with us that there are a lot of irregularities. So why are the results here? Where does the results come from? We don't know. The IEC should stop what it's doing and go back and redo what we must go back and re-elect the people. They can't go and arrest people for irregularities and continue giving us the results. This is wrong, and the IEC is wrong.
Okay, what we'll do, we'll take a couple of questions. All right, just introduce yourself.
All right, well, good evening. Behind me, you see a group of small parties, representatives of some of the smaller parties and the parties towards the bottom end of the results in this election. They've been holding a protest here and a press conference. They're going to take questions now. They've said that they believe that the outcome of this election and the election itself is not free and fair. Some of the parties involved include the African Transformation Movement, Black First, Land First Movement, and some of the others. One of the people involved in this is Adil Chabaleng, a spokesperson for the African People's Convention. What is your problem with the Electoral Commission? What do you believe they've done wrong here?
When we had a meeting earlier as a group of smaller parties that have contested elections, and out of that meeting a lot of irregularities were cited and were actually highlighted as to what went wrong with these particular elections. One particular issue is on the day of elections, IEC was not in control. There were many irregularities. One of the key 4 irregularities was the issue of the ink, people having multiple votes, the issue of issuing out of the voting slips, the issue of scanners not working properly, the VC Form 4s which were not available at stations, aspects which relates to the overall operation of the stations. People were allowed to come in and go. People were allowed to interrogate. Some of the people who were on the floor on the particular stations were actually party people who were working for IEC. That is irregular on its own.
Okay, I'm sorry, but you say all of that. There isn't actually evidence of that. I mean, there are 1 or 2 accounts on Twitter. We've had the whole conversation about whether people can vote twice. But in terms of what you're alleging, which would mean some kind of widespread problem. I mean, for example, where are party agents helping the IEC? There was one case. The deputy presiding officer in that case was fired, didn't actually preside over the elections. Where's the evidence you need of what you say is a widespread claim?
This is a decision taken by a collective body. If you are looking for evidence, as usual in South Africa, whenever we have grievances, we are not taken serious. We are told that we don't present any evidence when there is clear and irregular processes, which IEC itself, by the way, has agreed to some of those irregular processes. So the other aspect of it is, as smaller parties, we were never covered anywhere. Television in terms of SABC, the radio aspect of it, television aspect of it, all license holders of television in South Africa refused to cover all the smaller parties. They were only interested in 3 parties. Why was there no evidence provided when we were raising some of those issues?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Mr. Chabaleng, but you haven't answered my question. Where's the evidence?
Not here. I'm telling you what the position of the group is. The position of the group is they are disputing the results. They say it was not free and fair. They were not given the opportunities. They were not provided. This is a story we want to tell to the world, to say our story matters the most. We have a right. We brought people to ballot boxes, to voting stations. They were not treated properly. And on top of it, we came with busloads of people. People were voting from one station to another. Why would you dispute that fact when you saw evidence of it?
Okay, if you total all of the parties together, we're looking at what, 6 or 7, maybe 8 political parties who are working together in this case?
The whole full room was full of party members there, of representatives.
I'm sorry.
Don't undermine the cause that we have.
Okay, how many parties?
Over 30
Mr. Nchabaleng,
smaller parties that are contesting these elections, which needs to be given an opportunity.
Mr. Nchabaleng, I'm sorry,
sir.
You can decide to answer my questions or you can harangue. It's up to you. Here's the point. If you put all of the votes that these parties have got together, we're looking at probably 150,000 votes. And I'm afraid, sir, while I haven't done the calculations with a calculator, I'm probably being generous. We know that just the 3 major parties together are sitting on about 7 million votes.
Yes.
It would have to be a
What does that
conspiracy.
tell you, Steve?
If I may finish my question, sir.
What does it tell you? There has been irregularities. People have been doing
Irregularities, 7 million versus 100,000 votes.
People have been going in for multiple votes. There's been ballot boxes that have been tampered with. Why don't you cite that as a particular issue?
Every ballot box would have to be tampered
You're telling us
with.
that you are in an agreement with the election outcomes that says that currently majority has agreed with the outcome, when we know that the ANC has actually lost significant losses in the election. Most of these parties are mostly coming from some of these particular movements. So I don't understand it why journalists in South Africa, particularly in this country, continue to undermine the existence of smaller parties. And we have to be told that we don't have a voice to actually issue out irregularity. This is our own protest. We are saying we have resolved that there is an irregularity about the elections. And we must be given an opportunity to state our case. We do not need to be providing you anything right now. We are telling you our position, and this is what we've said. The world must hear. The observers who are here must come and inquire from individual parties and ask what is the issues, why are these parties standing here today, having to risk everything in their lives.
Thank you very much indeed. Adele and Chabaleng, I'm sure that we'll discuss this again in the future. All right, I would like, if I could ask you just to make way for another member of your collective from the Black First, Land First movement. Ma'am, good evening to you. I'm afraid I don't know your surname, but I know your first name is Zanele.
No problem.
What is your surname, sorry?
Luana.
All right, I'm sorry about that. It is one of those moments that we're doing this as we go. Zanele, can I just ask you, and I do want to put the same question I put to Mr. Chabaleng a few moments ago. I mean, your party got under 8,000 votes in this election, of the votes that are counted. There'll still be more votes to come for you in this election. But what claim are you then making against the IEC if you got so few votes compared to the other parties that got so many?
There are two main concerns. One way of looking at it is the procedure in terms of looking at all the irregularities that have been cited by many other political parties that puts the integrity of the Independent Electoral Commission into question. We then say, as Black First Land First, over and above these irregularities that compromise the fairness of these elections is a political program. We believe that in South Africa, there has been a decision to move towards a coalition government led particularly by the ANC, the EFF, and the DA. And it seems that in order for this to be made possible, parties who are pro-black, parties who represent a different agenda, parties who are not in the pockets of white monopoly capital are being cut out so that they do not get the sufficient representation in parliament so that they may be able to present a different alternative to the people of South Africa.
Well, the EFF, which presents a relatively similar thing, I mean, they're the ones who made the land issue such a big issue on the agenda. They've got 812,000 votes at the moment. Do you really think that there's a conspiracy against you and that the EFF is not pro-black?
There is definitely a conspiracy against pro-black political parties who stand for radical economic transformation. The establishment knows particularly that a party such as Black First Land First will not give a white party such as the DA black votes. And that is why we believe as Black First Land First, a party such as ours is being strategically being alienated into the side so that our voice can be silenced, so that our voice can be delegitimized, using the power to rig elections and create an environment where everyone agrees with each other, and that is not to question the establishment and white monopoly capital.
Nella Luanda, nice to meet you. Thank you very much indeed for your time. I do appreciate it. So that's the situation we have here at the moment. Now we have various analysts, various people will be speaking to this. We'll speak to Angelo Fick and Professor Susan Boyson in a moment as well, and we'll speak to them about these particular developments. We'll get their views on that. Musi Maimane, the leader of the Democratic Alliance, has just arrived. We'll walk over there now, and we are expecting him to speak as well, and we are expecting him to actually be able to speak and give his view on the elections, and we'll just go towards him to see what is happening there. In fact, you'll be able to see if we're able to get him. He's going to come over here and do a speech, I understand. We are expecting him to take questions as well, but he's going to speak first. So we'll move there and see if we're able to actually hear from the leader of the Democratic Alliance, Musi Maimane, who is speaking here. All right, he's about to speak. Here we go.
Oh, hello everybody, and I'm so glad to come to the IEC Results Center. I'm here with the chairperson of the DA, Ethel Trollip, and we, from a party political point of view, I've just looked at the initial projections. We're very happy that we'll retain the Western Cape. We're very clear about the fact that Gauteng is still on a knife edge, which is part of the work that we've done. And I'm most grateful for the fact that we've built an organization that works for all South Africans. So for us, it's been a very important election. It's been one that's been defining. And so we just came here. Of course, we got concerns about the electoral process in how some of the issues have been handled. I'm concerned that many South Africans were able to vote twice, and therefore our call for an audit is still an important one, because we think that needs to be interrogated. But I'm most comfortable about the fact. So I thought I'll just come and find out and say congratulations first up to Team Western Cape, who are going to retain that and grow in this election. So we're very excited about that.
Mr. Memani, Stephen Critters from the SABC. Isn't the situation actually that surely it doesn't look like you're going to substantially or significantly increase your share of the national vote? It looks like you're going to stay roughly the same.
No, look, what I think is important to note is the fact that when I set out as leader of the DA, I went out to say we want to build one South Africa for all, want to build a party that works for all South Africans. And I think many of them have come through in a very complicated election, if you look at how it's worked out. And we're comfortable. We're building a diverse organization. Black South Africans have come to vote for the DA. White South Africans have voted for the DA. So I'm quite content with where we are at the moment as a party. We've built a very strong foundation. And especially young voters have come out, and the support for the DA has been very strong. So I'm quite comfortable with where it's at.
On the current trends, you're actually going to get fewer votes in Gauteng in this election than you did in 2014.
Look, I mean, the Gauteng election is still not finalized yet. I'm looking at the projections and see how we're going to go. We're comfortable with where we govern. We ran a very strong campaign here. So I'm looking forward to the final results when they come out. I'll be back here tomorrow as soon as I get more VDs coming in from Gauteng to get an understanding as to what happened in Joburg and all of that. But from our current indicators, one of the things that are always important for me to look out for is that when we went out to campaign to want to build one South Africa for all, I wanted to monitor to make sure that black South Africans, white South Africans, Indian South Africans, colored South Africans came out to vote. And I think we've been able to achieve that. We're the only party that is representative of that in an election where in many ways there's been a contestation of different types of nationalism that have occurred. So we're very comfortable that we can offer that vision to all South Africans.
You have seen the smaller parties. They've made a call for the elections to be rerun. You support an audit, you've just said. You're not supporting a rerun at this stage?
Not at this stage. We've got to get an audit so that we know the extent and the question about how material the issues of ink not working properly, how when people came to cast their votes, actually they could vote twice. So let that audit take place, because ultimately it's in the interest of every party, whether small or big, that you want to make sure that the elections were free and fair, which is crucial. So we'll be monitoring that particular situation.
Mr. Memani Katleho from Kaya FM. I just wanted to find out from you, in terms of looking at the results so far in Gauteng, the DA is not doing that great compared to the ANC. Are you willing to go into a coalition, or is this something that is on the cards if the DA doesn't do well in this province?
No, look. As you know, we set some very important objectives, and here in Gauteng, it's been a big election. It's been a tough election, but I'm comfortable. We're waiting for, as I said earlier on, I'm waiting for the results. The question about coalitions is never with who, it's about what. What do you want to do? Do you want to bring an agenda for change? Do you want to ensure that you put a job in every home? That's always been our mantra, and we'll continue to fight that. And so I'm just waiting for the preliminary results. Let's not talk coalitions yet. Let's figure out what's going to happen with the results.
From Sunday Times.
That's the leader of the Democratic Alliance, Mmusi Maimane, taking questions from journalists today. And actually that happening here live at the moment. We are going to get some analysis of the events that have just happened, as you heard a little while ago there. The smaller parties also saying that they are actually going to challenge the outcome of this election. They say that it was not free and fair. And we have the leader of the DA, Mmusi Maimane, saying and talking up the way the performance of the Democratic Alliance. Professor Susan Boyson from Wits University, a political analyst. Let's just start with the core